Member of the Committee on Energy and Commerce, such time as he may consume.
The gentleman from Pennsylvania is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Ranking Member Ileana Ross-Slayton, for this opportunity to speak about this important issue of one of America's proud moments of how it helps when the world has need. On January 12th of this year, we were shocked and saddened by the devastating earthquake in Haiti. More than 230,000 Haitians are dead, perhaps even more will find, hundreds of thousands injured, 1 million left homeless. The world responded immediately with food, donations, rescue workers, but among the first to respond were our military, in particular the crew of the USNS Comfort. This 894-foot-long floating naval hospital set sail from Baltimore Harbor soon after the earthquake. Members of the ship's crew, most of whom hailed from the Navy's hospitals in Maryland and Virginia, were soon on board and underway. By the 17th of January, the Comfort was making full speed towards Port-au-Prince. Before its arrival, the USS Carl Vinson aircraft carrier provided immediate relief to injured Haitians. Today, the 1,200-person Comfort crew, made up of over 550 civilian and uniformed doctors, nurses, and others, is providing the best possible care under very challenging circumstances. With limited supplies but limitless compassion and skill, surgeons and nurses and a host of other specialties, obstetricians, pharmacists, pediatricians, and Navy personnel from the Medical Corps, the Medical Service Corps, the Nursing Corps, and so many others were there to treat Haitians who came on board with wounds, fractures, and infections. The crew's superb performance is a testimony to our Navy and our Marines who are confronting these very, very difficult challenges. Even before the devastating earthquake of January 12th that took so many lives, Haiti was a country enduring many difficult problems. Nearly 4/5 of its people live in absolute poverty. It has less than 50 hospitals, some of which are only staffed by a pair of nurses and medical interns. The country has fewer than 3 physicians for every 10,000 people. By comparison, our country has nearly 100 doctors for every 10,000 people. The absence of a medical infrastructure made treating Haitians even more challenging, where doctors in the pediatric ward estimated that 1/5 of the children in their care had untreated and in many cases previously undiagnosed medical conditions. The USNS Comfort docked near Port-au-Prince and medical beds, but the crew quickly realized it would serve as the primary place of treatment for a country with hundreds of thousands of injured people. The Comfort transformed itself into a 1,000-bed facility with 880 ward beds, 80 intensive care units, 20 post-anesthesia care unit beds, 12 operating rooms. On the second day of the Comfort's mission, Lieutenant Commander Erica Barrett-Irvin and Lieutenant Commander Shannon Lamb delivered a premature baby, a 4-pound, 5-ounce baby girl named Esther, whose mother, during the earthquake, after a building collapsed upon her, had severe injuries. Her mother went without treatment, but surgeons couldn't repair her fractures without threatening the baby's life, so on that day they delivered a healthy baby. She was 7 weeks early, but right on time for a ship that had never before witnessed an onboard delivery in its 22 years of service. The Comfort already had infants aboard, brought to the ship by mothers unable to find postnatal care in Haiti. One of the ship's youngest male patients is Vincent, named for the aircraft carrier USS Carl Vinson, where his mother gave birth to him. At the end of its second day, the Comfort has seen 184 patients, a third of whom saw surgery, said Lieutenant Commander Don Durora, director of the ship's receiving ward and division officer of the emergency department at the National Naval Medical Center Bethesda, to the Baltimore Sun, quote, "I saw more patients in 6 hours today than I would normally see in 24 hours back home. This is what we train for. This is what it's about for all of us." Even with the crew sleeping in shifts, helicopters dropping supplies from dawn till dusk, and the crew running around-the-clock operations at everything from the barbershop to the mess hall, wave after wave of critically injured patients pushed the limits of the Comfort's capabilities. Some were stories about senses of helplessness, physical pain, or feelings of despair and the loss of loved ones, but some provide inspiration. Due to the work of a Port-au-Prince native fireman, Gene Rebel, a Navy translator aboard the Comfort, and Joe Fiscus of Rochester, Pennsylvania, near Pittsburgh, Haitian national Antonio Janite was reunited with his 3-month-old daughter, Chris Yara, aboard the Comfort on February 2nd. He said, "I'm very happy. It's been 7 days since I sent my daughter to another hospital." The Comfort's crew knows that someday its mission will end, the ship will return to Baltimore Harbor, and the best medical care in the Caribbean Sea will depart with it. That's why the Comfort is making arrangements with the stateside hospital for continuing care to treat seriously burned patients who require months of medical attention. The Comfort has cared for over 2,000 Haitians, and much work remains to be done. I know that the crew and its able commander, Captain Jim Ware, are up to the task. I commend them for their diligence and call for us to honor their unbreakable spirit by passing this resolution. I'd also like to recognize the crews of the Vincent, the USS Fort McHenry, the Dock Landing, USS Bataan, a Wasp-class amphibious assault ship, the USS Carter Hall, another dock landing ship, and several other ships, the Higgins, the Underwood, the Normandy, the Bunker Hill, the Gunson Hall, the Grasp, and so many other Navy personnel and Marines who worked around the clock providing care to so many. You know, when one of us feels overcome with doubt or confusion, let us think about those fatigued corpsmen and doctors and nurses aboard the Comfort who carefully and skillfully bring their patients back, sometimes to the brink of death. Hours after hours of work with very little sleep, pushing themselves to the limits. Let's remember those sailors and Marines and Air Force personnel and Army soldiers who went to Haiti establishing the logistic, rescuing patients, taking them out of broken buildings. And one final story for us to remember. Rico spent 13 days buried alive in the rubble of a collapsed house. His legs were crushed, his pelvis dislocated, he could not move. He said, "There was darkness all around, all the time. I could not move inside. I could hear distant voices, but they could not hear mine. With only a few sips of water available, he stayed alive. Almost 2 weeks later, he was discovered." He said, "I was never scared because God was on my side. I survived by thinking of him and praying, and I thought about my family." Well, he was taken to a local hospital for basic triage. A day later, he arrived at Port-au-Prince for evaluation and possible transfer to Comfort. Due to the quick collection of information by Captain Richard Sharp, an on-site medical commander, he was transferred within just an hour to the proper ward care above the Comfort. All of us are proud of the great work that so many do in their armed services. We oftentimes talk a moment of pride for our nation. So I'd like to ask all my colleagues, in particular, I'd like to salute my colleagues in the Navy, where I serve also at the Bethesda National Naval Medical Center, but thank the Navy, the Marines, the Army, the Air Force, the Coast Guard, and all the civilians who reached out and showed the compassion that is one of America's bright moments, and show the world what America is all about. When the world needs us, when tragedy strikes, Americans gather together and support them. And today we salute those Americans who have helped so many of those in need in Haiti. With that, I yield back my time.
Gentleman yields back. The gentleman